What we're doing, we're talking about on this show, kind of looking at the Broncos, Avs, and Nuggets and seeing which one was more heartbreaking, and then looking forward to who has the best odds of winning the championship next. Do you think the Broncos are, I don't know your Avs and Nuggets knowledge there, but do you think the Broncos are really up there in terms of winning a Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, you get the AFC Championship game at home like they did. And I know Jared Stidham was the starting quarterback that day, and, it's too bad what happened to Bo Nix at the end of the divisional game against Buffalo. But, I mean, to lose that game is still about as heartbreaking as you get. It just is. Like, the defense couldn't have played a whole lot better. They gave them the only touchdown they really ever got that game. Like, that was all set up to win and go to a Super Bowl. And so that's just I don't know, when you get that close and you're at home, that's different than, 7-game series of, the Nuggets and the Avs right now.
We also were kind of looking around at teams or quarterbacks that would put fear into the Broncos. If you were, in Vance Joseph's position, which quarterback would you least want to face in a playoff game?
I mean, it would have to be Mahomes, just because of what he's accomplished. We know that he's going to be at some point he's going to get back to being healthy. We'll see if he's the same. I can't imagine him, the competitiveness and the playmaking ability being any different. The physical ability, like all quarterbacks, might slow down a little bit, but the game changing ability that he has is still probably put the most fear in you, because no matter what kind of pressure you want to put under him, his ability to escape the pressure or make plays under pressure is almost unparalleled. So I would still put Mahomes at the very top right now.
I'm curious what Vance would say, though, just because, the win-loss record obviously hasn't been great for the Broncos against the Chiefs. But in terms of games where Vance was in charge of the defense, the statistics from Mahomes haven't been that great.
I don't have any of that information in front of me. I know they've won in a variety of ways. They had the blocked field goal 2 years ago, to get a Chiefs victory. I mean, I know there's been some escapes, but at the same time, if you're talking about playoff games, that is different than a regular season. So that's the concern. His playoff record is unreal. How many wins he has, big games, Super Bowls, championship games, all that kind of stuff. Like that is a little bit different than the regular season.
Well, Baldy, speaking of Mahomes, the Chiefs released a video of him yesterday throwing a football with the helmet on. I have accepted that he's going to be playing week 1. Do you think that's the right thing to expect? And then will it be a 100% Mahomes, or what type of Mahomes do you think the Broncos will be facing week 1?
It'll be interesting. I mean, Andy Reid's not putting Mahomes out there if he doesn't feel like he's 100%, and there isn't going to be any sort of repercussions from the serious injury he had, back in December. So he's not putting him out there on the field. But I think the schedule makers feel pretty good, about, the lineup that they have week 1, that he's going to be out there. I think, Andy has always had the ability to adjust game plans according to the health of players. I mean, he did it with Donovan McNabb when, he had issues, injuries, and other backups were in there at the time. Like, he has adjusted the game plan. They did go out and get the Super Bowl MVP for a reason. They won a better run game than what they've had. We got to see if their offensive line is going to be an improvement or how much of an improvement, because I think we feel pretty good that at least most football players, analysts think that Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Suama Tatia, like, we feel pretty good that that's a good interior. The question mark has been at the tackle position for a long time, and we just got to see what that looks like right now. And nobody really knows Josh Simmons, what they're going to really line up with, because that's the strength of the Broncos pass rush, is coming off the edge. Mm-hmm. And can those guys hold up right now?
I like that. I love that advantage for the Broncos. Since you're talking offensive line, I want to look at the Broncos offensive line. And Baldy, you're the absolute expert when it comes to offensive line. Where would you, without truly ranking them, where would you put the Broncos offensive line in terms of how good they are compared to the rest of the NFL? Are they top 5, top 10, not in the top half of the NFL?
I'd say in order to get in the top 5, they have to run the ball better than what they do. I mean, I know they've protected well. Bo Nix has, helped them out with his scrambling ability. So the sack numbers are way down, which is always a good sign, and that puts you in the top 10 automatically, especially as much as they throw the football. But I think they got to run the ball better if you're going to be a top 5 offense line. So I'd put them somewhere between 5 and 10 right now. And look, the backups came in and played real well at left guard and at center last year. When Wattenberg went down, when Powers went down, the backups stepped in and played well. And so that's a credit, to what they're doing from the development standpoint. But I feel like in order to, get into that top 5, they've got to make a jump. And, maybe it's just the running back situation. They look a lot better when J.K. is in there and healthy than when he's not in there and healthy.
One of the conversations we were having yesterday, Baldy, was about the next step for this Broncos defense, and we brought up kind of creating turnovers as something that could put them at the next level. My question to you is that something that can be taught, can be learned, or is it more luck when it comes to turning the ball over?
Nah, I don't believe in the luck part. I don't. I believe that, everybody could study the peanut punch, Charles Tillman, and just watch how they punch the ball out. And the teams that, are pretty good at it, you spend a lot of time working on it, both offense and defense. Like if Ponder's picking up a bad fumble by Jarrett Stidham in an AFC championship game, there's still a chance to get that ball back. And so defensive players, offensive players, they all got to learn that. I think you can learn how to force fumbles. I do think that the longer you play together, I think the better chances you take in the secondary with passes and balls in the middle of the field, tip passes. Can you get those interceptions? Jaquan seems to have a real knack for it, whether it's loose balls or interceptions. I'd say he's got a good instinct about it. But I think those can be trained day in, day out. And so I believe that, if you look at the Bears last year, they led the league in interceptions. They led the league in takeaways, period. One of the reasons why they got as far as they did. But, a guy like Kevin Byard, those instincts have traveled with him since high school, Middle Tennessee State, the Tennessee Titans. Like that guy, he led the league in interceptions last year. And he's got instincts. And his instincts to take chances, to gamble, are real. And so I think those are things that can be worked on throughout the year, not just during the season, but even right now in OTAs, they can be worked on.
Baldy, Ryan asked you earlier who the Broncos should fear the most at quarterback in the AFC. I want to kind of flip that question and ask you how Bo Nix is feared nationally around the NFL. Is he getting up there, or are teams still, do they need to see more before they truly fear him in a playoff type situation?
I think they got to see more. I don't know that people fear him. I think that they feel like they can defend him. I think they let him take off and run. And a number of those situations, I don't see people spying Bo Nix right now. They kind of want him to, take off with it. It's one of the reasons why he's been a good scrambler and gained a lot of first downs. But I don't think they fear his ability to carve defenses up with the deep ball. Maybe Jalen Waddle, helps change some of that with Sutton and the other guys that they have right there, Troy Franklin, whatnot. I think, he needs another target out there to really stretch the defense, to stretch it vertically, but also stress the defense. And so I think maybe he helps make a difference right there, where they might fear Bo Nix a little bit more. But, his statistics tell you that they don't really fear him. Yards per attempt, completion percentage, those kind of things. Like, I don't think he's in that company yet of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes. Like, I don't think he's in that category at this point.
If he were to go on kind of a run at the beginning of this year with that crazy first 6 games, do you think that that's something that could flip?
Yeah, for sure. That's his 3rd year. And, he's coming back with perhaps a better team, maybe a better offense than what he has had. They come out of that. I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there. If they're 4-2 in the first 6 games with that schedule, that could certainly help, because in that schedule, he's going to have to, make plays that the big time quarterbacks have to make in order to win the majority of those games. I'm keeping that number at 4, but if they win 4 or 5 of those games to start the season, I think you'll start to see some of that. That respect is earned, it's not given. And so that's what I'm saying right now. I think, most good defenses, most great defensive players. You just saw Derwin James get his extension yesterday. Most of these guys in the league, they look at the opposing quarterback as either a problem or a guy that we can handle, or we can contain, or we can beat. Like they don't really look at it as an entire offense. They look at it as a quarterback matchup. And that's not really fair, but that's how good defensive players and defense coordinators look at the opposing quarterbacks. Like, can we beat this guy? Can we take him out of his game? Can we affect this guy? And so, the guys I mentioned, Josh and Lamar and, Mahomes, like they're a problem for teams. They know that they're never out of a game as long as those guys got another snap in them.
Baldy, one off-topic question really quick. How does a coach or an organization or players improve penalties? Because it felt like every Monday after games last year, Sean would say, we got to get better on the penalties. We got to get better on the penalties. And it just never really did for the Broncos. How do they do that this year?
I think a couple things. Most penalties are the result of being in bad position. Holding calls, defensive pass interference, illegal contact. Most penalties are now you could look at different officials and games are officiated different. All that stuff is true. But by and large, what I would do, and I'm sure Sean does the same thing, like you pull old penalties and you put them on a little reel and you go and watch them and you study them. All right. Is this holding call the result of bad footwork, being out of position? Are you grabbing or are you winning with your feet? Are you winning with your eyes? And so I think that's the start of it, is understanding why the penalty was committed. Is it because you're not in good position? If you were in better position, could you have avoided the penalty? Offense and defense and special teams, all of it. And so I think that's where it starts, is just understanding what got you in a position for that penalty to be called in the first place.
I love it. Baldy, final one for you. Since it's May 27th and we're talking about football, might as well just look at Super Bowl 61. And if I pose the question to you right now, who are the Broncos playing in the Super Bowl next year? What would your answer be?
I would probably lean towards the Rams. Yeah. I feel like that's a really good roster. They're bringing back the league MVP in Stafford. The coach is crazy good and innovative. They've drafted very, very well. And so I would say the Rams would probably, look, Seattle beat them in a championship game. Stafford still threw for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns that day. It's not like they slowed him down. And Seattle was the number 1 ranked defense in football, gave up 292 points in 17 games last year, kept the 49ers out of the end zone in a playoff game. And then the Rams still went up and down the field on them. So I would say I would lean towards the Rams right now.
I love it. Broncos, Rams. We'll sign up for it, Baldy. We appreciate you joining us and look forward to next week.
All right, Zach, Ryan, we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thanks,
See
Baldy.
you, Baldy. That is Brian Baldinger on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line. Xfinity, imagine that.